Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. I, of course, am with Originator Success here at the Daily Rate Lock Conversation, the only place on the web where you guys get to be part of the conversation. Thank you for joining for your daily mortgage rate update. Remember, you can join me live each and every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. If you're watching on the replay, don't forget, give me a hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you were here. Don't forget to smash that like button, tag an hello friend, or share us in a group. Now, if you're on Facebook, there's a little share button down there. You click share. Share us on one of the mortgage groups that you're in. Mortgage Loan Officer Network, Brokers Are Better, Mortgage Pub. I'm welcoming all those, but I want you to share it rather than me. So I appreciate you doing that. Also, remember, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, notification bell. Remember, if you want to get your written lock advice, we send that out each and every weekday morning, www.ratelockadvice.com. Sign up, get that email. By the way, on that email, if you're not getting it and you're signed up for it, a lot of lenders are starting to block CRM emails. Check out our text alerts. They're right there. Check us out at originatorssuccess.com. And that's all I'm going to say about all that. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's say hi to the live folks who are here this morning. If you're here, say hello. Mr. Ron Siegel, good morning, sir. Give you a hat tip out there in California. Mike Morano, great to see you, my friend. Ron said, am I on speed this morning? No, man. That's just yesterday I was tired. Today I'm not. Scott Menser, good morning, sir. Mark in Mortgage, good morning. Mike Tebow, great to see you, sir. Kelly Cargill, good morning. Rob Stewart, Amy Bell. Great to have all of you here as well. All right, let's dive in and talk about what's going on this morning. As far as the initial open, mortgage-backed securities are currently down 31 basis points on the day. That's never a good thing, right? We don't want to see that at all. That, of course, is not what we like. Taking a look at the technicals here, we're down 31 basis points. The only good news, take a look at this 48-hour chart down here in the bottom corner. I'm going to zoom in on this for a moment so we can kind of get doesn't want to zoom. Hold on, let me refresh the page. 10 minutes later. There we go. All right. So taking a look here, you could see yesterday we started out the day and we had a big dip in the morning. Pricing came out right around here, right around 10 a.m. Basically most of the worst levels of the day. We saw some nice steady improvement through the day, and that led to a lot of reprices better. Did you get a reprice better? Let me know in the comments. Hammer, yes, I got a reprice better. No, I didn't. Let me know in the comments. It helps with engagement. It also helps me know. According to Mortgage News Daily, there were about 30, 32 reprices better yesterday. Quite a bit, which is what we wanted to see. However, this morning, take a look here and you'll see that they fell down, fell apart. Hold on a minute, y'all. I got to sneeze. Maybe. I got that have to sneeze feeling, but not sneezing. It's the worst thing ever. Well, let's try blowing my nose. All right. So anyway, taking a look here this morning, this just sucks. We have lost all those gains, basically taking us down to that same level as where we were at yesterday when pricing came out. So that means rate sheets are very likely to be about the same as what we saw yesterday. Certainly not all that wonderful. Taking a look here, this 10-year treasury yield is very concerning to me. We broke 4.32. That was the high point of the year. We broke that. Let me fit this in so it fits into the window here. So taking a look at this 10-year treasury yield, you could see like we hit it here. And then we were there, and then yesterday, boom, we broke above it. Now, we saw a lot of nice improvement in bonds yesterday. This morning, though, we're here and much worse. We're all the way up to 4.41. There is technical support around 440, but we're busting through that. This is not a good sign. This is a bad precursor. This makes me nervous. Now, I'm not huge on just the technicals, but when you look at the fundamentals at what's going on here, again, no expectation at all of a Fed rate cut in May, but that June cut back down now below to about 65%. That's the lowest we've seen in quite a while. Actually, I'm sorry, 55%. That is the lowest that we have seen in quite a while, below 60%. And that's a bad sign. And basically today we're going to get some more Fed speaking that's going to come across with that same thing. Now, yesterday we had Fed officials, Mester and Daly, right? So you've got, let's see who's who. San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly, and Mester is Cleveland. Where is it? Here it is. Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester. So they spoke yesterday, and basically it's the same message we've gotten from the Fed since the Fed meeting. No urgency to cut rates. I'm thinking that a June rate cut is going to fall off the table. July was about 15%. It's up to 28% now. It looks like these rate cuts are getting pushed later in the year. Overall, though, still looking, market's still betting on 3 rate cuts by December, but it looks like they may come September, November, and December. Now, Ron Siegel, what was your forecast for the rate cuts again? I think you said September, November, December, or did you say July, November, December? What did you say, Ron Siegel? What is yours? And anyone else that wants to chime in, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the Fed is going to cut rates 3 times this year? And is it going to be the last 3 months of the year? What would happen? I don't necessarily know that they need to cut rates 3 times. You said July, November, December. Yeah. So right now I'm saying I think Ron looks to be the most right out of all the forecasters. Out of everyone out there, all these people claiming this, but basically the Fed members just keep repeating the same message over and over. They say the same thing. I think it's a reasonable baseline. Growth is going strong. There's really no urgency to adjust the rate. It's a close call on whether there will be fewer than 3 rate cuts needed, according to Mester. Wants to see more evidence inflation is headed lower before beginning the cuts. So this puts a lot more pressure, even more pressure on Friday's jobs data and next week's CPI inflation data. If we don't get help from those, we're going to see rates creeping higher. We're going to see probably the highest rates of the year. Now, they're not going to go up to October's highs, but they're moving higher. And we keep saying that rates are going to get better. Rates are going to get better. This just feels like the carrot is just kind of dangled in front of us, and every time we move, the carrot moves. You feel, remember, like in fact, here I have it here. This is what it feels like. Okay, here, let me make this full screen so you guys can get the full picture here. All right, I feel like we have the carrot. Hold on, we're gonna wind this up so it's shorter. There we go. Hold on, I'm almost there. All right, it's like we have the carrot at the end of the stick. And remember the old cartoons, and the donkey is always walking after the carrot, and he's chasing the carrot, and he can't get to the carrot, and and that keeps walking. That's what I feel like all this talk of rate cuts. It feels like they're constantly moving the carrot. It's just farther and farther away. Remember, we were supposed to be knee deep in a recession last year. It was supposed to be rates were supposed to be falling back down. Guess what? Rates aren't falling back down, and the housing market is not crashing, and the economy is not crashing, and people are spending money. We know that that's a lot of borrowed money, but they're still spending money, and it's just the reality. Also, because they're spending money, companies are still making money, which means that they're not having to do layoffs or get rid of workers or cut back. So all of this cycle, it keeps doing its thing. And it doesn't matter whether people are spending money that they're earning, money that they're borrowing, they're spending money. So we're not going to see anything improve from here. We were looking for a lot more help on this. I thought we were finally getting a little bit of a wave. Looking at mortgage rates and where we were at with all this stuff, basically we've been in the same boat, right? We get all the way up to about 7 1/4, 7 1/8 on this chart here, and that's where we're pushing back up to. We saw these levels just a couple weeks ago. We weren't that far off from here, and then it gets a little bit better. Here we were at 709. So basically, we've run that same cycle over and over. You can see it here in mortgage bonds, and then you see it in here we go. And then you see it on the rate sheets. We go up and things improve. They get to about here. Then we worsened. Then we improved. Then we worsened. And that's what we've seen exactly on the rate sheets here. Now, the question is, which way is that going to break? Are we going to see this break and see bond prices continue to move lower and set us up for worse rates? Well, in order to see that happen, what would have to happen is we'd have to see some really strong labor market data. Now, remember what happened back in January. Let's put this to 6 months. February with January's data. Let's see, that should be right about here it is. So that was February 2nd, was right here when we saw that. This was the mark, and all of February, we really lost a lot of ground when we had that labor market data, the CPI data, and it pushed everything down. Now we're getting near those same levels again. So this means that if we see labor market strength on Friday's report. And if next week's CPI data does not give us something to see some turnaround, we'll see this actually break down to the worst levels of the year, stuff that we haven't seen since back in November. Now, again, we're nowhere near these October numbers for mortgage-backed securities. These were 95 on this 5.5 coupon. I mean, we were all the way down to 94, 95. Look at this. 93, 97. Holy smokes, 94, 36. We were at some super low numbers. We're nowhere near those levels. So we don't have to worry about that. We're not anywhere near that yet. But we do have to worry about breaking below this recent trend and seeing it push up into the higher sevens. And that'll happen if we see this continue to work its way down. And again, it's all going to come down to that data. Let's highlight what you guys have to say. Love to hear your feedback on it. Tim said, I don't see it at this point twice, but if we get another few months at this point, maybe once. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about rate cuts on that one. Mike said, kind of funny. Inflation can go from 7% to 3% easy, but 3 to 2 is a lot harder. Well, but let's look at that though. Look at the CPI chart. Look at the inflation number. And again, the Fed uses the PCE, and I'm referencing the CPI. But even still, look at this number. We shot we were getting like no inflation here. We shot all the way up, and the Fed said that they knew it was going to take it. When they put their forecast, they're forecasting out like a year. So seeing 3.2, 3.1, 3.4, the headline numbers. Now the headline number could be higher. What we're seeing now isn't going to be in the immediate report next week. It's going to be in the next report, because we're seeing that the oil prices are going up because of the stuff going on with Israel bombing the Iranian embassy, supposedly. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what's reported. But look at the core numbers that take that out. I mean, we've seen, look at this, 5.3, 4.8, 4.7, 4.3, 4.1, 4.0, 3.9, 3.8. We've seen it continuing to move down nice and easy. So we haven't, I don't know what everyone thinks it's just going to, what do you think? It's going to go from 3.8 and drop to like 3.3. We're not going to see any big drops in inflation right now. It's going to fight through this. We're seeing this inflation, but the thing is the Fed continues to use that same rhetoric of they want to see that inflation is cooling and that everything else is easing, and we're going to continue to see that. Ron said, isn't it interesting? Fed keeps saying that data dependent, and they're all saying that data dependent, and then it tells us they're not planning to vote for a cut before the data is released. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you, Ron. And it is funny because today, before I forget to talk about it, today we're going to have a lot of Fed speakers. We've got Powell, but there's a bunch of them on the docket today. I'm not even going to name them all, but there's a bunch of them. Powell will be the most prominent one that's featured today, though. They'll be saying that. Crystal said, so 60-day out files keep floating. Yes, Crystal, if it's 60 days out, I would float. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't guarantee you anything. However, let me explain why I would float this and why, if you're at 60 days, why I would wait. So within 60 days, right? Today is April 3rd. 60 days out puts you in June. And that would mean that we would, if we don't get a cut in May, as expected, and we don't get a cut in June, which they're still pricing one in, but let's say we don't get that cut, that emphasis will be like what Ron said, we're really likely to see a cut in July. Now, you don't have to close in July to see that benefit. If we don't see a cut here, and this will even if rates move higher as they push through this, they'll fall back down as we head into the idea of a July rate cut. So even if we see things move worse here, they're going to go ahead and go back up and improve. So everything goes in cycles. It goes down, it goes up. It goes down, it goes up. We're going down. I certainly wouldn't be locking 60-day files now, because even if we go down further, even if we go down here into 97 land, it's going to come back up. And we're not going into a market where the Fed is not hiking rates. If the Fed was hiking, if we were at risk of the Fed hiking rates, we could see rates move up significantly higher from here. But remember, there's a reason that the worst rates we saw were in October, and the worst that bonds was in October. And that was because of the pivot. The reason we've seen all this improvement is because the market priced in the idea that the Fed was done hiking rates and at some point would have to cut rates. And that's what pushed us between the end of October and December That's what pushed rates and improved, and we fell back from the eights back down into the sevens and even into the sixes. Was all of this movement here was the idea that the Fed was done hiking rates and would now start cutting rates. If we were to see concerns, if inflation was moving higher and things like that, and there was talk that the Fed could hike rates, mortgage rates would go up big, and we would be locking 60-day locks. But that's not the case right now. What it is, it's just like I did with the little feather thing before. It just keeps pushing it down the road, pushing it down the road. We're not really at risk of seeing rates move significantly higher. And by significantly, I mean right now, if we use Mortgage News Daily as a reference point, let me pop this on the screen next to me, and then I'll do the side by side here. When we take a look at this together, we're looking at rates that are going to be at like 7.25-ish on here. That's probably the worst it's going to get, and then it's going to come back down again. So and going up and down a quarter point in, let's say that it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get that cycle. For something locking that far off, I don't think it'll be there. Ron said he thinks the inflation data will be irrelevant and it's not going to 2% anytime soon. Catalyst for a rate cut will be employment. The only change could be if inflation starts going up and the Fed thinks they need to hike. That would kill rates. That's a good one to put that one, Ron. Rowdier, you asked for a 20-day lock. 20-day lock now, that one's got a lot more risk, right? And we're cautiously floating for now, but definitely keep an eye. I would have a finger on the lock trigger. Now, last week I had said to be locking anything closing in 15 days, 15 to 30. We were cautiously floating. We've seen negative. Now, yesterday we had a really nice recovery. This recovery, let me make this so you guys can see what I want to show you here. Hold on. Okay. We had a really nice recovery here yesterday. See how it just kind of bounced up? And today we've got a big drop, which again, we're down 37 basis points. Rate sheets this morning are going to suck. This has been a really steady. I wrote the early lock advice. I haven't sent it yet. I'll probably have to rewrite it. We're really seeing a dip lower here. We need Friday to give us a recovery. But if we see, like what Ron said, if we see unemployment data that shows weakness. If we see, remember, unemployment went from 3.7 to 3.9. Wages were growing, but not growing as quickly as they were previously or as quickly as forecast. We saw more new jobs created, but the jobs creation isn't necessarily, it gets the headline, but that's not the big thing that they're looking at. They're looking at wages and they're looking at unemployment. So if we get numbers that are slightly advantageous there, so if it's 20 days, I'm still cautiously floating. But recognize that we have a lot of risk coming into Friday and then next Wednesday. Those are the two big things we're going to have inflation. I don't necessarily agree with Ron that the inflation won't get a reaction. It depends. I mean, if we do get inflation that goes down a couple of ticks, 2 ticks, I think we're in a good spot. But I don't know that we'll get that. So anyway, you got to cautiously float anything that's in 20 days. Keep a finger on the trigger. I would risk floating into Friday. We're watching this 10-year Treasury yield, though, 4.43 at this point. This would give us heartburn because this break is really for that 20-day lock period. That's what concerns me, is the fact that the 10-year is basically leading the way. It's opening the door and it's indicating that we're not going to see things improve. So keep a finger on the lock trigger, talk to the consumer about today's rates and the risk that's there. And it depends on if you're chasing what was gone a week ago versus what's there today. I mean, we've seen rates go up already 1/8 to 1/4, depending on rate sheet. So, it depends on if you're chasing that. All right, my friends, I'm going to go ahead and Mike said more inflated employment data until the election. Yeah, probably true. I don't know. I don't know that the BLS actually manipulates the data. I just think that the data is suspect all around. So, all right, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. We've already been on here for 20 minutes. Again, a lot of Fed speakers today. Reprice risk is fairly high. Cautiously float. Let's see where the day goes. There's no reason to lock yet, but you got to have a finger on the trigger. It's an ugly start. Taking a look here again, we're pushing, we're testing these levels where we were a week ago. We hit 98.73. That's exactly where we're at right now. This is where we were back on 2 weeks ago, March 18th, and we bounced. That was the lowest that we hit, and that's going to be kind of that average that you saw here is right in that same 98. Technically, we would argue that this purple line, this is a support level at 98.53. So 20 basis points lower here this is where we could hit. If we break below that, it's a huge technical question. Again, we broke below it, came up, broke below it, came up, broke below it, came up. Where we could see similar behavior here for that. But if we bash through it, that's bad. But again, this 10-year treasury yield needs to pay. We need to be paying attention to this because it really could be indicating that this is what's going to happen next. So, but like I showed you on the big picture, we're still so far away from where we were back in October. I mean, we're hundreds of basis points better, and we're not gonna see a big drop to that. So I wouldn't panic lock yet, is my point. All right, my friends. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully we got some recovery. Tomorrow is the day before the storm. It's another calm before the storm. So all right, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.